Everybody, it's good to see all of you today, and it looks like we have a full house, a nice full quorum, and so we'll get right to work. We do have, do you want to just talk about this?
Sure.
Kate, so they know what that is.
So at the September meeting, we were looking at some of the grants. One of the grants we looked at was for Wycomico County. If you recall, during that, they were asking for funding of personnel for 10 months. This is the job description that you requested for that position, so we can address that at the beginning of the grant submission.
Okay, that sounds good. Remember, that was the discussion we had. You know, it didn't sound like that person, you know, had a lot of qualifications, and we were concerned about it. So we'll do that when we get the grants. All right, great. So do we have approval for the minutes that were sent out, the September 16th meeting minutes?
I would need approval.
All right, do we have a second? All right, we have a motion and we have a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Do you have any abstentions? All right, looks like it was unanimous. Okay, so Kate, you want to start with updates?
Sure. So we have a short list of updates this month because there are quite a few grants to review. So this is School Bus Safety Week. So some of the things you'll see this week are a press release by the center, partnered with Department of Education, as well as a message from the governor in that press release. You'll see a lot of things this week related to bus safety on social media, as well as some other regular and traditional media outreach. We're hoping we might actually get some interviews this week. So just keep that in mind, remind your staff. We ask that everyone remind their folks to share those messages as they come out. October 23rd, which is this Wednesday, is Unity Day. So this is National Bullying Prevention Month. So Unity Day is a day that has been going on since 2011. So they've been asking people to wear orange to unite and remind people about bullying and bullying prevention. So we will have a press release going out about that. We're asking all of the partners to be involved as well, and a lot of the local school systems are already doing that. So it's just a day to wear orange and show support.
Do you have anything orange in your wardrobe?
Yeah, orange is a little tough color.
Well, I figure with the Orioles, it can't be too hard in Maryland.
We had the pashmina from the Orioles giveaway.
There you go.
I have it out and ready for
Okay, all right.
I can lend you something.
All right, good. When I was in Talbot County, it was Easton High School colors, so that's fun. I have a lot of T-shirts that are orange, but I don't think it would be good for meetings.
Is School Bus Safety Week the day that you get to jump out the back of the school bus? Is
No,
that
they do all those
Things.
They have to do
Yeah.
all those.
Yeah.
They don't, jump. They walk out safely.
Yes.
Just want to clarify.
The older
that.
kids shuffle them out
I see.
in a controlled fashion.
I'm sure you did.
So the other thing that's going on this week is the National Tip Line Conference. So it's actually out in Nevada. So all of the states who have a school safety tip line get together. They talk about best practices, kind of how things are working, and try to identify other solutions that they can related to the tips that are coming in. So Sandy, who runs our tip line for us, is the program manager for that, is out there. Along with Kiona Black, who is with MEMA, who the tip takers actually report to her over at MEMA. So that should be a good week for them, a good couple of days. So we're hoping to hear some good information about things we can do to sort of market the tip line better, as well as anything we can do to just make it a little better and a little easier for our school systems. November 4th through the 6th is the Virginia 2019 Threat Assessment for Educational Institutions Conference. The center is partnering with them to put that conference on. So I'm actually on a panel with Virginia to talk about some of the things that Virginia and Maryland have done as it relates to school safety. They have about 750 participants that they're anticipating. They have, I believe the last count was 13 states that'll be coming in. And most of Virginia, and we actually have quite a few participants from Maryland attending as well. Some things that are on our agenda, which will be coming up in the next meeting, is we're in the process of drafting the annual report for the subcabinet. So that'll be available for your review at the next meeting. And we'll also have a status update on all of the grants, not just the ones we're going to go over today, but where the other grants are and what's been awarded and what hasn't. Okay.
Yeah, I just want to add, this morning I was presenting to the National Association of Pupil Service Administrators, and the majority of their vendors were safety folks. I just thought that was such an interesting turn, because I doubt that 5 years ago you would have seen anybody there talking about school safety, but they had some pretty incredible booths set up with their vendors. Interesting. Okay. Thank you, Kate, for the updates. And now let's move on to discuss the non-public special education facilities grants. And I assume that, Dino, you're going to review those with us?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Did you want me to go through the old business like Comico or?
Yeah, let's go ahead and talk about that one since it's fresh here on our minds.
Last meeting, I think the only issue was questioning what the position description was for those positions they were asking for. So they just sent me the position description last week. You have that in front of you. It looks more like a security safety individual for the schools that they want to try the pilot project in. So I did talk to them. It's a one-time request only. They're going to see if this works or not. And if it does work, they will be able to then to do the funding within their budget afterwards.
Can you remind us of how much they were paying these individuals? Because I think that was the discrepancy. It was more of a salary like for an instructional assistant.
Those notes I do not have.
It should be in the...
Because instructional assistant is listed in the education and experience, so like a prerequisite, I guess.
It was $17,713 a year, 10 month.
Yeah.
And how many hours per week?
I'm
Most
sure
of-
it's the school hours.
Yeah, it's the
Okay.
school.
So
Most
was
of
it-
10 month or
Yeah,
I'm
10
sure
month
it's the
hours,
regular
I think
thing.
37 and a half hours, I believe
Right,
it is.
exactly. So what are your thoughts on this, folks?
Well, if they can make it work, I think it's a good idea. And how that they will report results back out to us, actually on a lot of these expenditures is my question. So that we can learn from whether it worked, and if it did work, how do we recruit more people? Seems like having the more eyes we have on the student population, the more beneficial it could be for student safety.
It's definitely an eyes and ears job. I guess the key will be what they report, who they report it to, and whether it's followed up on. So this is almost like crossing guard type thing, whether.
Madam Chair, could we ask maybe for, since this is unique, a quarterly report? Maybe every 90 days they could just do a quick report on what did these folks do, so that they could consider and we could learn.
Yeah, I don't see any reason why we couldn't do
Their
that.
note.
Yeah.
So it's just a qualification.
Yeah, I mean,
grant.
I'm glad that they know what they're going to do with them, because I don't think when we first saw the application that was clear. So maybe this has helped them to clear up their expectations. My concern, I guess, is the same as the senators, and that's what kind of, individual they have for this position and how does it work. Because I know from the one very small time frame that I shared with SROs this summer, one of the major discussion points was how they coordinated with administration and who was doing what. And so I know that now this will be another person in the mix, and I think it's going to be somewhat of a learning situation for how they work together. So I think asking for a report would be a good idea.
And what you, Madam Chair, what you just said as far as how do they integrate with administration, that might be one of the questions that we would
Right.
like to suggest that they answer in their report, maybe several others that would be important.
My understanding, this is not a school security officer, this is something, some new
It's
entity.
kind of a hybrid thing.
I was saying, it looks, it reads a little like he's still in the infield there, it's just kind of doing
Yeah,
everything.
right, there you go.
And the question would be then, do they fit the definition of a school security employee under the statute, which requires training, which requires the same training that the SROs
For the
have?
SROs.
Yeah.
Well, he answers to the principal, unlike the SRO, which is different.
School
Well-
security employees don't answer to the
That's okay.
SROs. Yeah.
All right, so we'll let this go with some reporting and some analysis on our part on a quarterly basis to see how it's going. And I know that Wycomico's had some issues as of late, so I know we're also working with them regionally on those
Correct.
issues, so.
So they're going to use this money to prove the concept, I guess, and if they think it's a good thing, they'll put it in their own budget.
That's what I'm
Exactly,
thinking, I mean, if it
because-
works, maybe it could be sold to
Well,
others.
I mean, this isn't exactly analogous, but we're in the process of training 2,000 community health workers. And these are people that make between $18,000 and $24,000. And they're really, it is an arms and legs job, and they go into homes and
Right.
make sure things are
Right.
what they should be. And so it's a way to use paraprofessionals and try to,
Which you see happening
Extend
everywhere
what you-
now,
yeah.
especially in the health field.
yeah.
So, okay, well, thank you.
Do you need to formally vote on that? I'm sorry.
Probably a good idea. So do we have a motion to allow this position to be utilized with additional evaluation components added?
Madam Chair, I'd say for quarterly reports
Okay,
for the year.
all right, so we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Abstentions? All right, motion carries unanimously. Thank you.
Moving to the non-public. Foundation Schools, the original grant review summary that I produced, I was not, I did not know they had two buildings. So it was actually for 10,000, not 5,000. So I broke down the grant summary into 4 different projects, 2 projects for each facility. Project number 1 is transportation coverage from Foundation School in Largo. Covers the cost for transportation costs for the Student Links Advocacy Program, providing wraparound services for their students. Project number 2, again with the Largo facility, is the associated with provision of in-home intervention program that they are establishing, that they're funding will provide services for students in need of home intervention services from the school. Each of those programs are, they request $2,500 for each, for a total of $5,000 for the Largo facility. Project number 3 is the Montgomery County facility. Funding will cover transportation costs from the Foundation Links Advocacy Program provided at the Montgomery facility. They're requesting $2,000 for those costs. And Project 4, again with the Montgomery County facility, is the provision of in-home wraparound services for those students in need. They're asking for $3,000 for those costs. Total is $10,000, $5,000 per each facility, which was a lot.
I have a question, Madam Chair.
Yes,
Just to be clear, do you know, so there's no CCTV equipment and systems?
No, that was another typo on my part that
Okay. Thank you.
other questions about the particular grant and what it is going to be spent on?
I have one question that
Yes.
just kind of overlaps all of these. Are these reimbursements? They provide the billing or demonstration of the expenditures and then we reimburse them, or?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, good. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
I have a question.
Yes, Bill.
Transportation, I kind of thought these grants were more infrastructural, maybe a misunderstanding, but transportation costs seems like it would be an ongoing expense.
Yeah, I share the same concern. I think transportation is something you've got to plan for in your regular budget as opposed to a grant. I'm not familiar with, I mean, certainly if it's sending someone to a conference and the transportation that is, you know, aligned with that would make sense, but I'm not sure. Do you have any sense, Dino, about? I know they have other grant money,
When
which
they-
may be more flexible that they could use for that, as opposed to using our money for that.
I'm not sure. I know they do transportation during the normal school hours. These would be for the individuals after school hours that are in the
Right.
program to get them back home outside of the normal to and from school during those normal hours.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, how do other people feel about the idea of transportation?
I
Carol?
had actually both of the requests. I wasn't really clear what the instructions were for these particular grants, because neither one of them have a real strong tie to school safety, I didn't think. I mean, certainly you could make a case for both. And I read through their grant proposal quickly, and I just didn't get that real strong tie-in to what this money is for. Almost seemed like these are expenses that they have, and they'd like to allocate these dollars towards that.
Yeah, and the NOGA that went out, or the NOFA, excuse me, that went out for this was the same for the non-publics as it was for the school
I
system.
thought so.
So it was not a different one.
Except for the wraparound services.
Well,
Correct.
I think there are enough questions that we might want to send this one back.
Okay.
Okay, so
And say, please reread the NOFA and make sure that your request is in line with that NOFA.
Okay.
Okay. Do we have to formally vote on that or just give direction to them?
It's a good question, Dawn.
What do you think?
It'd probably be good to have a motion to
Send it back.
recommend that the application
Do it.
go back
Yeah.
with the instructions
Okay.
that they are to reread and resubmit.
All right, does someone want to make that
That's a motion, I'll make it.
All right.
Do we have a second? All right, we have a motion, and a second, to send these back for reconsideration by the foundation. So do we have, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? All right, motion carries unanimously. Thank you for those good thoughts and directions.
Next one, non-public, is Gateways to School. Project number 1, may look familiar on the heading, CCTV equipment and system. Funding requested will cover cost of 4 CCTV cameras, recorder system, and network installation. That was, they've requested $1,173 on that project. Project number 2, training and behavioral threat assessment. Funding will provide training and manuals for 40 staff members to be trained in behavioral threat assessment. They requested $4,200 there. Their total request from us is $5,000. The actual total cost is $5,373, and they noted in the grant request that they would be using their own operating funds for anything over the $5,000.
I have a follow-up question on this one. It's going to relate back to a lot of the applications, and that is a standardization of the training materials. Is there a standard, for instance, for this behavior threat
behavioral
assessment
threat
that
assessment?
everybody uses? I see a lot of people going to conferences and that in some of the applications later.
There are probably maybe four different major models out there in use
That they're allowed to
across the
use.
country.
And they all largely
They're about the same.
relate back to Dr. Cornell and his work at UVA. So they may be slight variations on a theme, but they all tie back to that.
Is there any opportunity to bulk purchase then? Do a state purchase for something that a lot of people are using?
Well, I don't know, we'd have to look into that. We talked about that actually a long time ago. We looked at Stop the Bleed kits and whether or not we could do that, So, I mean, we can look into it, but I don't know what the answer is.
Yeah, we can certainly look into it. I think the concern has typically been school systems want to go with a vendor that they feel comfortable with, as long as they're within this group that is allowable, so.
But if they can save some money, it
Yeah.
might be worthwhile to offer that as a standard model that, you can get for a lot cheaper and get more
Yeah.
bang for your buck.
Yeah.
And Madam Chair, possibly they've used enough of them that we could get some feedback to find out which one
Which is the
works the
best.
best.
Right, yeah, that's a good
Yeah, we
idea.
can certainly do that.
Is
Okay.
this training on site or is it online or do we know?
Usually it's on site, they bring a trainer in.
Right.
Okay.
and train the staff.
So that's not an exorbitant cost for an on-site for 40 people. It's like $100 a person.
No, it's pretty cheap.
Yeah.
I would think
If you get a manual too.
Right.
I think it could be, I don't know enough about procuring someone like that, but I mean, if you're gonna go site to site, you're not gonna be able to say,
Yeah.
let's all go to the arena, and get trained.
No, it's not good as Baltimore Convention.
Just in general.
Got it.
And I assume it's at their location, so I mean,
Yes.
they're coming to you,
Yeah.
so
Right.
that's the other advantage, you don't
Yeah.
have to pay for transportation.
Exactly, good point. All right, we can look into that. In the meantime, though, do we have a motion to
I make a
approve this
motion.
grant? All right, we have a motion, do we have a second? All right, second, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, abstentions? All right, motion carries unanimously. Okay, next grant, please. We're getting to the local school systems now.
Next one up is Allegheny County. Project number one, they want to enhance the visitor management system. They want to establish secure check-in kiosks consisting of a laptop, badge printer, and barcode scanner that will read driver's licenses. It allows for secure check-in, tracking of, and secure inquiries of both internal custody system, so that it'll run the name against their own system in-house, and external sex offender databases that they have access to. That request is for $24,178. Project number two is additional upgrades to their CCTV camera software and server. We currently upgrade the current software in use, add server capability to the middle schools, and allow purchase of additional cameras to enhance coverage. They requested $65,000 for that one. Project number three, entryway upgrades. Project would add proximity sensors to doors leading to playground and staff parking in the rear side of elementary schools. Currently, staff are required to bring student population into the building via the front entrance because those entrances are currently secured only with a lock from the inside. They can't have access to it right now. That will increase the security safety should need to arise to quickly bring students back into the school. They won't have to travel all the way around the school to get to the inside. They're requesting $10,800 for that project. Project number four.
I have a question on 3.
Yes.
How does the proximity sensor facilitate bringing the?
Their cards, it's proximity reader.
Oh, I see.
Like this.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
You know, what is an internal custody system?
That's what they label their system as. So if they have anybody
Kids are
they
in
know,
custody, or-
internally, they know,
Yeah, yeah.
if they have issues with any parents or anybody like that, that'll flag from their own internal system.
Child custody.
Oh, okay,
Yes.
okay.
Right.
I was like, what database they hooked up? Concerned about that.
Project number four, panic button upgrade. All their school facilities currently have a panic button that contacts the local 911 center when activated. The project would increase the ability to ensure the system works as designed by hardwiring each system currently in place. Right now, they use a voice over IP system. Depending upon server issues, they've had issues where the buttons haven't worked when they've tested them, things like that.
Good to know.
So $22,000 is the request there for that project. Project number five, installation of security gate at the alternative school. They would like to install an interior security gate between the alternative school and the attached gymnasium. Prevention of this would be used for unauthorized access of the gym during school hours and access to the school facility in the evening because the gym is used for public use also. So this would prevent the kids during the day at the alternative school from going into the gym unless they're allowed to. And the flip side, the public who use the gym in the evenings won't have access to the school as they currently do right now. They're requesting $2,000 for that upgrade. Project number six, school-based behavioral health pilot program. They want to pilot 2 programs of Toolbox Learning by Dovetail Learning, Toolbox program by Dovetail Learning. It's a K through 6 program which teaches how to manage emotional and social issues through development of personal skills, and Mentoring Mentors program, which is designed to focus on social emotional guidance and leadership of students to improve behavior and reduce suspension. They're requesting $40,000 for that project.
So, Madam Chair, I would have the same follow-up question. How many of these types of systems are there that the LEAs are using?
We've got quite a few.
Yes.
All right. Any of them work better than the others and have different pricing?
I can't answer the pricing question, and I We would have to go back to the school systems to do a survey to see which ones have been most effective. I do know for this one, they are using it in different grades, and now they want to expand it to the other grades, so it obviously was successful
like it's
enough for them
working
that they
well,
want to
yes.
expand the program.
I would be interested in how they're working, what they liked about it, what they maybe compared to others, because it's important information to share. It seems very important.
Well, I think we can always ask for that as far as, confirmation of
Reporting.
how the program worked. And the other thing we can do, Dino, is always involve our MSDE experts in assessing whether these are evidence-based prior to coming to the school safety subcabinet, because like OA's bullying is nationally, it's definitely evidence-based. We've been using for years and years, but some of these other ones that are cropping up probably are going through that review process, either with one of the national organizations to do some vetting. So it would be good to check with them on that. Either Walt could certainly answer that, or Ron.
And Madam Chair, like you said earlier, there's a lot of vendors that they see the money in there.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Witness all the tables that are showing up at all
Exactly.
these conferences.
Yeah.
this may be more trouble than it's worth, but these are like $40,000, $50,000 expenditures for one school system. If we find these to be useful, we could list a roster on our website, and then school systems that have decided to go forward on this, they at least have some, otherwise they're going to be dependent upon cold calls and somebody doing it. So I'm just wondering that, like for small IT projects, I'm chair of the Health Benefit Exchange. We have a roster of about 25 IT vendors that if we have a job or some sort of problem, rather than go through the procurement process for a fixed amount of money, we can go and get our repairman right away. I'm just wondering, since all these things are times 24, and when you count private schools, we could develop recommended or sanctioned programs that have already been used by somebody or used nationally and are evidence-based, and it might save people some time and trouble. And so if you got a bullying program, I've heard of this bullying program. I don't know whether there are other approved bullying programs or not. I suspect that there might be.
It's the one we use in Maryland.
Yeah. Okay, well, then that one's probably okay, but to give people 2 or 3 to pick from that have already been vetted, then we're not going to have people have a bad
Yeah, I just worried a
experience.
little bit about that, though. I find,
Not prescribed, but just
yeah, but
listed.
We get into a bit of an ethical problem.
yeah, I really, really don't think we want to do that.
It's not ethical to list successful evidence-based programs for people
I think
to.
there are national organizations that do that, and that we should use those to get that information.
Okay.
Rather than us.
Then maybe that's what we should publish.
Rather than us weighing in on
Then
it.
maybe that's what we should publish, but I just don't.
Well, that's why I want Dino to
If Garrett
check.
County wanted to do school-based behavioral health pilot program, what would they do? Would they call their neighbor at Allegheny County and say, what did you do?
Well, they
Or-
all
They
meet,
can.
they all meet together, they all
Yeah.
talk together, and they all use MSD as a resource. And we have the capacity to do the research on those systems, so I would really rather it come back through.
Well, I was right the first time. It was more trouble than it was worth.
Okay. Thank you always for thinking out of the box.
I do think that there's a way to say here is who school systems have used in the past, but we don't want to say, we recommend you use. There's probably,
Right.
but that's something for MSD to decide.
Well, I really wasn't going to get into the recommending. I was just going to say that here are programs that have been used by our
Well,
school
we just
systems.
we get so many contacts that, on a daily basis, and we send them all the same letter that says, we don't talk to vendors, thank you very much.
Okay.
So, I mean, local school systems can deal that way, but we have to be very careful. Okay, I just have, I know you're not finished going through the list, but I think this question is going to come up over and over again, and that is, there are lots of these projects that seem to me to be more fitting to go under the IAC grants for construction, like we talk about fencing, and we talk about, those kinds of things. And even with we've even approved projects through the IAC that have to do with the the walkie-talkies and all those kinds of things, so.
Cameras?
And the cameras. So I don't know how we help school systems understand which is more appropriate, which pot of money. And I know that there's some confusion. I know we tried to alleviate that confusion with some information we just sent out.
Yeah.
I don't know what everyone else thinks about that, but
So, Madam Chair, what we have kind of been trying to do between us is divided into two camps. One is safety and one is security. So security things fall under the IAC, where we're putting up the vestibules and, like you
Right.
mentioned, a fence. That makes sense as I was reading this,
Yeah.
but they could go either way. But if we wanted to just say, why don't you, we could do that.
yeah.
I view it a little differently. I view it as an extra pot of money. And
That's
so
how
if
they
you got,
do it.
if you got all your
And that's
capital
how-
program nailed down,
And that's
and you
how-
can slip a couple
Right.
in.
And that's
on
what
your
they're
list.
doing.
Yeah.
That is what
I mean, I don't have an issue with it, I just want us to recognize that that is occurring. And I know we're very careful, I know we've got most of our grants in for the IAC, so I'm sure that that's the case, but I just kind of wanted to bring it up as, this is a change in.
And Madam Chair, all of these small programs like this are not only hard for us and all the personnel we take to manage it.
Yeah.
They're very hard for the LEAs.
Right.
But here are the programs, we have to figure out how to manage it.
Right, exactly.
So there is an option for next year, assuming there is funding again next year. We could make the NOFAs next year very clear.
Yes.
That says you will not receive funding for these items.
I think we really have to go in that direction because it is, as Bob is talking about, it's extremely difficult for us to track these, whether we're in the IAC phase or the school's safety subcabinet phase. It's very difficult to keep everything straight.
And you can look at at 7, 15, 12, and the itemized things there that the Safe Schools Fund grants are to fund, and, within those, you can highlight certain ones that this
Right.
body feels are a priority for the fiscal year 2021
Okay.
grants in advance.
Yeah.
So, Madam Chair, on your point then, I think that we can work together with Kate and just come up with a list. It doesn't have to be, here are the things that are eligible.
Right.
But it can be, we can say, similar to,
Right.
and have a long list that they can kind of weigh
Yeah.
against.
Okay. All right, then we won't get too in the weeds with this year's grants, but I think it is certainly something to straighten out for next year. So go ahead, Dino, I didn't
Okay.
mean to interrupt your flow there.
So with the toolbox program, they were asking for 40,000 to implement that program and increase it there. Project number 7, two-way radio program, they're asking for $8,030, and that's just to provide enhanced communication capability within their schools with staff who are on the outside of the school with the office. Currently, they use Kenwood radios, more or less they're a step above the radio you take to the beach, but it's 2 steps below the 800 megahertz radio type system. So these are just local commercial channel radios available, but they would increase the number of them in their schools so that more than just the janitor and 1 or 2 principals have a radio to the front office. They're asking for $8,030 for that program, for a project. Project number 8, implementation of the OLS bullying program. We want to implement that program in both the high and middle schools in the county. It's designed to improve peer relations while reducing bullying. And some of the percentage figures I found on that program, it's shown to reduce in some systems use of drug use up to 75%, use of tobacco use down 87%, violence roughly 50% cuts, and alcohol use has been cut roughly 60% in some of the programs used across the country. Project number 9, wayfinding signage and perimeter fencing program. They were requesting funds to purchase materials required to improve emergency signage, numbering the exterior doors, identifying fire lanes, and other restricted parking access restrictions, and repair of perimeter fencing. Wayfinding signage meets requirements established through crime prevention through environmental design, which is more of a law enforcement and safety tool, prevention tool. When they do SEPTED requirements, it shows them how to do their lighting, perimeter lighting, environmental design, so bushes are lower and farther away from the buildings, so there's no hiding places, things like that, and a bunch of other requirements that SEPTED has. My SEPTED subject matter expert is not here today. That's Ron Pierce. He's trained in that as an instructor. But they're requesting $8,206 for that. Their total request, $229,814, and their total allocation in the whole program is allowed $229,814.
Okay, other questions about any of these projects? Now I'll entertain a motion to approve this grant request.
So,
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. All right, let's move to Anne Arundel County Public School.
Anne Arundel County Public Schools. Project number 1, expansion of the second step social emotional learning curriculum to grades K through 5. Funding will increase the number of elementary schools to receive this program. The pilot project in selected schools yielded successful outcomes in teaching children proactive measures and responding to daily stressors by utilizing short lessons to build social and emotional learning skills using real-life scenarios. So they did a pilot project last year. It was successful to them, and they would like to increase that to all their elementary schools. They're requesting $332,892 for that. Project number 2, reevaluation of the safety assessments. The project would entail performing a reevaluation of 126 schools in the system to evaluate changes made after the first evaluation in the system and planning for additional needed changes in areas such as training, response, facility, and equipment needs. Reevaluation will be accomplished using internal system contractual staff. For that, they're requesting $99,942. Project number 3, safety enhancement of after-school and special events on school system grounds. The initial safety evaluations of each facility identified the need for additional staff for special and after-school events, as well as the ability to safely channel both pedestrian and vehicular traffic. The project would increase staff numbers via use of stipends and provide enhanced safety via designated safety equipment, mainly apparel and flashlights for personnel to use after hours and in the dark, as well as channelization for both pedestrians and vehicles on site. They're requesting $62,680 for that program. And project number 4, enhancement of the local school system two-way radios. This project would increase the number of two-way radios used internally within each school, thereby allowing faster communication for children in behavioral crisis, safety issues, and scheduled or unscheduled evacuations. Additionally, newer batteries and parts for radios will be procured to ensure minimal downtime of the radios. They're asking $156,694 for that. In the above programs, they're asking for fixed costs for the personnel stipends in the projects noted, $9,236. Their total request is $661,444. Their total allocation is $661,444.
So what did we decide about fixed costs again?
Fixed costs are yes,
Okay.
indirect are no.
Got it, okay, just wanted to
Yes.
put that out there, in case someone else had that same question. And interesting, Project 3 is something that I think the School Safety Advisory Board is looking into about these, what about after-school activities?
Yep.
So,
And after-school planning.
and after-school planning. So
Mhm.
this is the first I've seen that somebody's really looking into this. I think it's a good idea. Questions on any of these projects?
Do they really need $100,000 to evaluate what they did with the little bit of money we gave them last year?
I don't know.
I'm just looking at Project 2. It says a reevaluation. Well, wasn't some of the money we gave them initially to do an evaluation of what their needs were when this whole thing kicked
Yeah,
off?
we did, we had
Yeah,
those.
so this is actually to do another assessment of those 126 schools. So the law requires that they do them regularly. It does not dictate how often that is, but they want to go
Didn't
back.
dictate that we had to pay for them, did it?
So,
It did not.
So in the original budget allocation for the 2019 budget, it had 2.5 million, and that was what was carved up for each county to do their initial evaluations.
Right.
But then in section 71512, under the Safe Schools Funds grants, it includes as a line item the school safety evaluations, because another portion of the statute says they will be conducted regularly, so they have to redo them.
Sounds like Anne Arundel is striving to be regular.
Well, don't forget, Dr. Arlotto is the chair.
I know,
Yeah,
I know.
yeah.
It's the reason I brought it up, is that, I'm just not picking on him, but,
Yeah.
okay.
All right, so do we, Bill?
Sorry, I had a question.
Sure.
I have a question about the stipend, and I can't recall where we are with, it sounds kind of like a personnel cost, and I don't see them saying, we're going to pick it up next year. I can't remember what we said internally about it.
Well, it's, I think, well, Kate, I'm going to let you address this because
Sure.
I want to make sure I get it.
So we
right.
talked about funding full-time personnel versus funding staff who are doing either overtime or extra work or added responsibilities outside of what they're already paying for. So the Wycomico one that we just talked about, they are hiring contractual for the year, and if it works out, if this program works, they will do it for the following year. This is on those events when there's these activities, it's like hiring overtime law enforcement as far as the SRO grant is concerned, right? When they're not hiring personnel to do this, they're hiring extra time of, and that was not something that we had ever discussed saying no to.
Right,
And so as long as we've discussed this.
right, okay. All right, so do we have a motion to approve Anne Arundel County's grant? All right, do we have a second?
Madam Chair, could I ask a question on that?
Yeah.
So if it's a reimbursement with staffing, how do we do that? I mean,
So they actually have to send us their payroll, their timesheets and all of that for the individuals and the personnel who actually
Okay.
earned that money.
and do we do that with the safety officers on the SOA grants?
Yeah, so those are the required submissions that they have to give to us, in addition to quarterly reports and
Thank you.
the invoice. Yep.
All right, so we have a motion on the floor, do we have a second?
I'll second.
All right, motion is second, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. All right, let's go on to Calvert County.
Calvert County. We're starting with project number 1, the Life Crisis Intervention Training and Enhancement of De-escalation Strategies for Students. This is training on de-escalation, the Life Space Crisis Intervention Program for their staff. They're requesting that to help in de-escalating student behavior to avoid the eventual outcome of school suspension by turning crisis into a learning opportunity. That program will provide their staff the ability to learn how to understand the dynamics of conflict and connect with students in a way that helps create a change in perceptions, thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. They're requesting $68,937.60 to implement that project. Also with that one, if you read the initial application, there was a typo in their draft they sent me. The funding for that includes training materials, mileage for the hotel for the instructor coming in to do that. Their typo was they had food for 40 staff members. When I contacted them about that, they said that's not in the budget. It was a oversight when they redid and when we looked at the actual budget in the back, there's nothing in there for
Good,
food.
I'm
so
glad
they
you
took
clarified
out.
that, because that was
Yes.
definitely a question.
Yes. So I want to make sure we got a hold of them
Yeah,
prior to
thank you.
on that, if they answered that for me. Project number 2, increasing de-escalation strategies for use in their classrooms. The result of the belief in increasing proactive measures to mitigate discipline in all of their schools, they want to train and restore the practice for 40 more additional staff members, including but not limited to administrators, teachers, counselors, social workers, principal workers, psychologists to help deliver the training within their schools. These staff members will be available to provide training to other administrative teachers on restorative strategies, as well as to assist with implementation of the strategies within the classroom. That program project, they're requesting $59,933.10. Project number 3 is the Prepare training program. In Calvert schools, they look to expand their mental health service to their schools. They want to train additional staff in the implementation and delivery of Prepare. That's the name of the program. The curriculum has been developed by the National Association of School Psychologists and provides evidence-based resources and consultation related to school crisis prevention and response. They're requesting $10,533 for that project. Project number 3, Stop the Bleed training and equipment. Calvert County's Public Schools initiated the implementation of the Stop the Bleed program by providing trainer for other school nurses. This training was provided by myself at the center a couple of years ago to their school nurses. All their staff at the sites, including bus drivers, is what they want to do now. They're scheduled to be completed by the end of the 2019-2020 school year. The requested funds will support the initiative. They requested $18,065.28, which will include the purchasing of additional Stop the Bleed kits for their central office and satellite offices in the school system. Next project is the K-12 Visitor and Emergency Management Program, Raptor Technology Program. They're initiating and upgrading their visitor and emergency management system with the installation of the Raptor Visitor Management System. Currently, they use Keep the Track management, but that does not offer the other safety benefits that they're looking for and the emergency management that is available through Raptor. This will be used to not only for visitors, but volunteers in their schools, as well as chaperones that attend field trips. They will also use the emergency management aspect of the program as part of their reunification process, along with emergency notifications.
Dino?
Yes.
The first grant we approved for the public schools, Allegheny, they've got a check-in kiosk, badge printer and all that. Doesn't have a catchy brand name. So what are they buying? Brand X in Allegheny County? Looks like Calvert County's got 2 name brands. The one that they have now is Keeping Track, and now they're going to buy the Raptor system. I mean, are these well known to us? I don't know.
The Raptor.
Raptor is known, yes. The majority of the systems, not only across Maryland, but I think the United States, when I've gone to different places, use
Okay,
Raptor.
so they're going to a fairly national model.
Yes, sir.
Okay. I didn't want them to get caught up on some sort of a cool brand name.
But it makes a good point, because if that were a statewide purchase, it makes training easier. In fact, probably our own staff could do the training.
But each school system has the autonomy to select the system that they feel serves them best, so.
Very true.
So for that project, they're requesting $62,638.46. Project number 6, they would like to request funds to begin training 11 school safety advocates from the center, from them, and the required training we have to have every year. The training will take place at the conclusion of the school year. The center is planning on having classes from the end of school till the end of June right now, because of the 10-month employee situation. So we're working on now scheduling that with our training staff to make sure there's a couple of different classes with 40-hour full, and to catch up any officers who have the NASRO training already, the 2-day class for them. This will be cost the hourly rates for each safety advocate for the 5 days of training that they have to attend. So this is a stipend for the 10-month employees to train $14,529.31. Project number 7, Innovative School Summit. The conference is directed at at-risk and struggling students, girl bullying and empowerment, school climate and culture forum, and school discipline. The cost for this is for registration, flight, hotel rooms, workshop pay, food and hotel transport for the 4 staff members attending the program. They're requesting $14,575.60 for this.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
have we ever done a conference before, send people off to conference in
Yes.
this program? Thank you.
And I remember the question.
Yeah, I see there's more coming. And I wonder, since this is a statewide program, if that wouldn't be possible, if we could bring somebody here for a lower cost.
Well, in some cases you can, but some of these, I mean, I can tell you, even when we put on our own conference here, some of the presenters are incredibly expensive. We're talking like $50,000. So, I'm not sure we want to coordinate that.
Wrong business.
So you need a couple of hundred attendees in order to make it
Absolutely.
worthwhile.
And I don't think we would have the capacity to do that with just 13 staff members.
Yes.
Well, if they're only sending 4 from this
Yeah.
county,
Right.
Yeah.
then maybe 100.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's always a good thought. There's nothing wrong with trying to think of different ways to do it.
Project number 8, National Threat Assessment Conference of Educational Institutions. This, their learning opportunity here. We would like to send 7 staff members to the conference that's down in Richmond in the beginning of November. The request is $6,298.72 for that. Project number 9, Anti-Bias Curriculum Materials and Resource Database Grant. Curriculum will be delivered by a school counselor, social workers, or other staff as assigned when a situation or a community event creates disruption or disturbance within the school environment. Staff will gather resource material and write curriculum that will be delivered. Costs reflect curriculum material to include text manuals, online support, and supplemental materials, as well as staff to write the curriculum and create a database for use by schools. They're requesting $9,600, $51.63 for that project.
Madam Chair, I've read this, but I don't quite understand what this is trying to get at. Does anybody kind of break it down a little more concrete example? It looks like it's for after some kind of negative event, but I don't quite know.
Well, I think it's for both of those things.
Correct.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so, just want to make sure I'm looking at the right one. Yeah, so this is they're working to develop their own curriculum to support, as Dr. Salmon said, both day-to-day as well as following an
What happens
emergency
in
crisis.
crisis?
So this grant would help, would pay staff to develop.
To actually develop it.
Yeah, it's not something they would do during their time. It would be something you have to pay people to come in and do on a Saturday or
Right.
after
After
work
hours.
hours.
Okay, so this is like contractual or stipend?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
Sure. Number 10?
Project number 10, installation of an SOW repeater system at the Huntingtown High School. This will use grant funds to upgrade and improve the current struggling radio communications that they're having at Huntingtown High. This would enable signals to be repeated throughout the school. Adequate communication to them, and their request is maintain safety within the building, and requesting $7,024 for that. Their total request is $272,187. Their total allocation allowed, $272,187.
You know, question, who
Yes.
is doing, I can't figure out either from reading the grant or the summary, who's doing the training for restorative practices and on de-escalation, which is project number 2, and actually number 1, too. No, 2, just 2,
Just two?
yeah. Because I went back in and
So
read
one
the
is,
description.
one is second step,
Yeah.
and the other isn't that two? Second step?
I didn't see that. Is that
Just
what
make
it
sure I'm
is?
looking at the right.
It's project 2, increasing the de-escalation strategies for use in our classrooms.
That's what they prepare.
Yeah, so,
That's the one where they're training the 40 staff members, and they'll be able to do, you know, to train the trainer model, but I don't see who is doing the training for them.
If it's prepare, I believe that is through the National Association.
It doesn't say that.
Yeah. Let's see if I have
so I have project 2 as second step. And then,
Where do you see that, Kate?
so in their application,
Uh-huh.
but the third sentence, and then again.
Oh, I see second step. Okay, I didn't see that when I first read it.
Yeah, they're using Second Step in their elementary schools as well as their middle schools. That's the one you're referring to, right?
Yes,
Not Prepare, okay.
Okay, good. I just wanted to make sure that that was documented somewhere, because I didn't see it in the summary, and
Yeah,
I was
apologize.
like...
So in the future, when we bring these
Yeah, I
in, I'll
just-
include the
Yeah,
vendor
it's-
name and who
Yeah,
it
I
is.
think
and
it's
the-
just helpful, because then we'll recognize it as a, you know, I was just wondering, are they just going to get together and come up with this, or what? Because I know we have a number of trainers that, through the Center for Restorative
Yep.
Practices, that we could use too. Okay. All right, other questions about this grant from Calvert County?
The only comment,
Yes?
I'm glad to see the money being spent on hate bias.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at the most recent hate bias report, over 21% of the incidents are in elementary and secondary schools.
right.
So the quicker we can end that, the better.
Very good point, thank you. All right, do we have a motion to approve this grant for Calvert County?
I'll move it.
All right, and do we have a second?
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? All right, motion carried unanimously. All right, let's move on now to Frederick County's.
Frederick County. Their project number one will be promoting alternative thinking strategy, PATHS program. They're launching a two-pronged effect to increase social and emotional skills of their students. One will be they'll purchase the PATH curriculum kits for all classrooms grades 3 through 6. And B, they'll develop a social emotional learning curriculums to fill the gap in SEL resources for students in 7th and 8th grades. That's their project number 2 in this project. They're doing this by purchasing online training for 307 teachers in grades 3 through 5 and 126 teachers in grade 6, and purchasing the promotional alternative thinking strategies for grades 3 through 5 and for grade 6. The whole request for this project is $257,008. Project number 2, middle school SEL curriculum development. We will pay 10 of their teachers and central office staff to write social emotional learning curriculum for grades 7 through 8, which was referenced above. The proposal is to craft a developmentally appropriate social emotional learning curriculum for 7th and 8th grade students. They're requesting $18,914 for that project. Project number 3, applied suicide intervention skills training known as ASSIST. ASSIST training on site at Frederick County Public Schools for 30 of their mental health professionals, to include school-based counselors, psychologists, social workers, and behavioral support specialists. This learning experience will allow the system to provide suicide intervention and prevention support to students in need. ASSIST training and professional learning. They will be on-site to train staff to suicide intervention skills. It allows for training of up to 24 people. Staff to be trained will not require substitutes. The professional learning experience will allow 24 of their members to be certified as ASSIST trainers, so not only are they going to train staff in ASSIST, they're going to have 24 people trained to become trainers in the program. And the ASSIST certified trainers will provide professional learning to 194 additional school-state staff based on the ASSIST model in suicide intervention. They're requesting $70,145 for that program. Project, excuse me. Project number 4, drug abuse prevention efforts. It will provide funding for 8 central staff to attend the Prescription Drug Abuse and Heroin Summit in Nashville, Tennessee in April of 2020. Staff will include the supervisor of student services, coordinator of mental health services, health services specialist, curriculum specialist for secondary health, a pupil personnel worker, a school psychologist, their homeless program administrator, and their alternative education administrator. They're requesting $22,736 for that. Project number 5, restorative practices. This will handle the salary, wages, and fixed costs to pay for substitutes for teachers serving on the restorative practices work group. The work group meets once a month for 2 hours during the school day and substitutes for 2-day training in restorative circles. The training will be provided by system academic specialists for school culture and will be given to teams of 10 from 6 different schools. Teams will include building administrators, counselors, social workers, behavioral support specialists, and teachers. Not all team members will require substitutes. This also includes supplies and materials. They're requesting $9,805. Project number 6, learning the brain. Project will pay for 4 central office staff to attend the Learning and Brain Conference in San Francisco in February of 2020. Staff will include the supervisor of mental health and psychological services, the supervisor of counseling and behavioral services, the coordinator of behavioral support, and the achievement specialist for school culture. They're asking for $9,980 for that project. Project number 7, Threat Assessment Management Oversight Team. They call it TAMOT training. The project will pay for the salaries, wages, fixed costs for substitutes for instructional staff, members of school-based threat assessment and management teams. Schools-based teams will be trained by Frederick County staff in-house. Training for 11 staff to attend the TAMOT training in Denver, Colorado in the spring of 2020. Staff to attend that training include the Director of Student Services, Supervisor of Mental Health and Psychological Services, Supervisor of Counseling and Behavioral Management, Coordinator of Mental Health Services, Supervisor of Security Emergency Management, a school psychologist, 3 principals, 1 elementary, 1 middle, and 1 high, 1 representative from the Human Resources, and 1 representative from the Department of Special Education. They're requesting $28,017 for that project.
Can I stop right there?
Yes.
This seems like it's very heavy on travel, and they use 2 methodologies. One is to pay for the travel itself, and then the other is to pay for the substitutes while the other people travel. And I don't know, it just seems like it's awfully heavy on travel.
Other comments about that?
I would agree. Yeah, some of them are the same people.
Kate, do you want to talk about, I know I've sent you on a couple of trips this year.
Yeah.
Because I think it is a matter of, do we have, the question might be, do we have the capacity here for this information, or do we have to go somewhere else to get it? So.
Right, and I think the programs and the things that they want to go to, we currently do not have those established here in Maryland yet. So we don't have them set up, although we did cover some of that during our summer conference, and we'll address it again this coming summer. There's certainly the Virginia conference, which is a big resource as well this year that we partnered in. But I think until, we have the resources and the capability to bring some of this stuff into Maryland, people are still going to need to go to other conferences and other trainings and other events, including our school resource officers. There's still...
I'm really thinking about the 2 different methods that they're using. We could pay for the training. I think paying for the substitutes is getting awful close to paying salary stuff. So
The only problem is, and statewide school systems those are the things they cut when their budgets aren't funded. They cut training and they cut substitutes. So this is a way for them to be able to do some of those things that they would normally not be able to do because of those budget cuts.
Okay.
I had a question. I'm just kind of breaking out the numbers. It looks like they're averaging around $2,500 or $3,000 for, I assume these are both 4-day conferences. Is that the going rate to fly?
That's pretty close to fly, to stay.
Okay.
And to eat.
Yeah, and to eat, yeah.
And to pay for the training.
Yes. Yeah, because there's registration costs as well.
Okay?
Okay. Project number 8, outreach emergency procedure posters. They would like to provide 11 by 17 emergency procedure posters to be placed in every instructional space, and 24 by 36 emergency procedure posters to be placed in school foyers and hallways. They're requesting $3,408 for that project. And project number 9, outreach student reunification management. The funds requested will purchase materials for professional laminated printing of 24 by 32 signage associated with student reunification management. Requested $4,803. Their total requested $424,888. The total allocation allowed is $424,888.
Dino, could you make a note to let them know that on the curriculum development, Project 2, that they should review the information that is on CASEL, which is the CASEL. There's a website. They have a secondary guide that is available for curriculum. They may want to review that for information in the development of their own curriculum, which surveys other curriculums in this area. All right, other questions, Bill?
Thank you. For 8 and 9, did they break out how many posters they were going to get for these?
It's in their budget sheet. 1 second.
It looks like it has 10,000 posters.
Yes, 10,000.
Yeah.
10,000?
And then 1,500 for the other one.
1,500.
Okay, great.
36.
And then the Learn the Brain conference, excuse me, Learning the Brain, or Learning and the Brain. Did we, I think it's great that they would go through that, but what's the impact on school safety, or how will that training assist?
I think that's,
This is the,
right up, it's in here somewhere.
so this is the, talking about the child development,
Okay.
right, and brain development, and that is one of the items that was required to be included in the school resource officer training that we developed.
Right.
So it definitely ties into school safety.
Okay, thank you.
All right. So that's on page 7, if you want to look at the write-up, more information. Any other questions? All right, do we have a motion to approve Frederick County grant projects?
So moved.
All right, do we have a second?
Second.
All right, we have a motion and we have a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? All right, motion carries. Washington County. Oh, I'm sorry, Queen Anne's. I'm going alphabetical order here.
Queen Anne's County. Project number 1 will be training of 6 their SROs and the NASRO certification. They would like to send 6 of the school resource officers they have assigned to their system to the National Association of School Resource Officers to cover course registration, salaries, and travel handled by the course registration. Salaries and the travel will be handled by the Queen Anne's County Sheriff's Office. But this is registration for 6 officers to attend the NASRO conference and be certified in the basic certification. It runs in $2,970. Project number 2 is trauma-informed training for administrators and staff. The fund requested will provide training sessions for both administrators and school staff on trauma-informed care provided by a practicing clinician. $25,800 is the request for that project. Project number 3, we would like to hire 2 10-month school-based social workers contractually for the high schools. The funding would be for 2 10-month social workers to assist with provision of wraparound services at both Kent Island High School and Queen Anne's County High School. They're asking for a total project cost of $136,000 for that. Project number 4, purchase of the Mind Up curriculum for grades 6 through 8. They're currently using the curriculum in pre-K through 5 and would like to purchase curriculum to include grades 6 through 8 and to train 5 counselors in the curriculum that teaches students skills, knowledge needed to regulate stress, emotion, and form positive relationships and act with compassion and kindness. They're requesting $485 for that. Project number 5, school safety evaluations. The program will allow contractors to perform school safety evaluation to reevaluate performance measures put in place over the previous year to identify any new gaps within the system that occurred within the year. They're requesting $22,500 for that project. Project number 6, installation of panic buttons for their alert notification system. Queen Anne's County Public Schools currently utilizes the Alertus Solution Mass Notification System. The program funds will allow the installation of associated panic buttons in all the schools to go with this program. They're requesting $5,989.20 for that. Their total request is $193,742.20. They're currently, allocation-wise, they're allowed $193,744.20.
Dino, question on the hiring of the social workers.
Mhm.
I don't see where that says contractual.
I talked to Sid, I reached out to him to double check. And they're 10-month employees for right now. They're gonna look at if it works for them,
That doesn't work.
okay. For the social workers,
They can't be employees, and then we're going to, that's supplanting. You can't do
I'll
that.
double check with Sid.
They have to be hired contractually and/or, as we allowed in one of the grants earlier, for 1 year only, to be picked up by the county in the next fiscal budget.
I'll double
Because
check
that would
with
set
Sid.
a different precedent than we had
Okay.
allowed before. And also, where's their budget page? Because that's where you would see how the money is spent contractually versus salaries.
I may have missed sending it.
Okay, yeah.
So we'll attach it
because
when
that's
we
where you
review
can
next
really
month.
check
Yeah.
to see if there's
Mhm.
money in salaries or if there's, on the
Mhm.
contractual
Right.
line. So I think we need to clarify that.
Can we move to send it back?
Yes, I think so.
Yeah.
And have it clarified.
Make it.
All right, do we have a second?
And I would second it.
All right. Bob, you have a question?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
On number 5, the reevaluation, I'd like to also extend it back to Anne Arundel. Since we are doing these reevaluations, did we hear a report out about what works and what doesn't work?
Yeah, I agree.
So, wait, procedurally, so
Mhm.
you're, right now, there's a motion pending
Yes.
with respect to Queen Anne's County. So Bill moved to send it back for clarification on this personnel issue. We need a second. We
That
can
question-
entertain your question
Yes.
after the pending motion is resolved,
Okay.
because that one needs to go, that relates back to somebody else's.
It was intended before the motion, so I don't mind waiting.
Okay.
All right, do we have a second?
Yeah, I do.
All right, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? All right, and then tell them to add on an explanation about how the thing works, as Bob has suggested for the safety evaluation.
And was I understanding, sorry.
I'm sorry.
And I don't think that needs to be a motion, we're sending it back anyway, so just tell them to do it. Thank you.
But you referenced
I thought
Anne
Bob-
Arundel
I thought
County.
Bob also wanted that for Anne Arundel County
I
because
think
they're
he
doing it.
said that, he said that's what we talked about in Rome, wasn't it?
I don't think we did talk about it.
There was something else we talked about for reporting out. I think it was on the-
okay.
Yeah,
We talked about how it's
Right.
nice, and
I raised the
Bob brought it up,
question.
that
Okay.
it's good
All right.
that they're doing it. And so since these are repeats,
I got
see
it.
what we learned.
I agree.
So we'll have a
Just
question
ask
about
them
that.
as well.
Yep.
I don't think that needs to be a motion. Okay. All right, let's move on then to Talbot County.
Talbot County. Project number 1 is training of student services, social workers, and student threat assessment. The funding will train 25 student services counselors and social workers in the use of the CARE 2 student threat assessment program. Request for that is, grant project is $3,500. Project number 2, training of 2 staff members in crisis intervention, as crisis intervention trainers. It will allow 2 staff members to attend train-the-trainer training at the National Staff Crisis Intervention Program, or in that program, and bring that training back to trained staff during professional development. The cost they're requesting for that is $6,823. Project number 3, training of staff in identification and de-escalation of concerning behaviors. They'll conduct contractor training for 40 staff, school system staff on recognition and de-escalation of concerning behaviors. Training will then move to cover a variety of potential threats that may be encountered while in a school setting and techniques on handling the same. They're requesting $24,500 for that project. Project number 4, provision of sidewalk and crosswalk construction. Project will include construction of a sidewalk and installation of crosswalks in front of Easton High School, requesting $171,806 for that project.
Madam
Bob,
Chair.
can you just talk
Yeah.
about the implications of that, please?
Madam Chair, So as we talked earlier, security and safety. This would not be a security project because we're not trying to keep somebody from getting into the building the way that we have viewed them. Is it a safety project? It could be considered a safety project, but I wonder, is it a street that they're planning to do? And maybe this is a county project. I don't know the
Or
answer.
a town project.
Yes.
Yeah, we would need much more information on this. This is, I mean, I know what it looks like. There is not a sidewalk down the road on Mecklenburg Avenue. But I'm not sure that that's the school system's responsibility to put that in.
And Madam Chair, it's just generally for capital projects, off-site work is not typically something the state invests in.
So that one needs to go back.
Very clever ask, but
Say, nice try.
Yes.
I would move that we send it back.
All right, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. Thank you. All right, let's move then on to,
Wait a minute. I'm sorry.
Yes.
You were on topic, right?
yes,
Can we get some more information on project number 3?
in close quarters defense?
Yeah.
Yes.
I know what you're talking about, yes, sir.
Okay.
What is that? Current-
I know the individual who runs that, I mean, very highly skilled, did a lot of special operations training, he's done some law enforcement training. I'm just curious as to how that would tie into school training. On the very aggressive side, put it that way. I mean, it's reactive, good, it's very good training, very good training.
Okay.
Reactive training, but I apologize for delaying, I was actually looking at his website to see if he has anything, there's nothing school safety on there.
Okay.
So I'm just curious as to where that's going and how it would work in, that's all. Just make sure it's
Well, and that
appropriate.
person that's responsible is not the trainer, because that's an employee of the system. Who's the man that does the?
Dwayne Dieter,
Yeah,
he's the owner of the company.
right.
And so you're wanting clarification on the applicability of this
Yeah,
program
like
in
what-
the K-12 environment?
Right, what's he actually looking at? And again, they do some very high-speed stuff, but
So he
Where
owns
does it
Close
tie in?
Quarters Defense, that's a company?
Yep,
Okay,
CBD. Yep.
all right, good.
It's a shore business.
Yeah.
Oh, here it is, there's, yeah, I see it. There's a information pamphlet
I
about
haven't
it.
seen that.
He does sort of like how you fight back.
Oh, yeah.
Stuff, yeah.
Oh, no, I do see it in all this
Oh,
stuff.
you see it?
I'm
Okay.
sorry, I hadn't gone that far down.
Applications changed.
Yeah, but I think we have to, I think that's part of, I'm sitting here today and as we're going through this process, I'm reflecting in my own head about what we're seeing as far as these trends and what we're seeing in terms of school safety. And Bill brought up an interesting article last week about doing all of the active shooter drills and how some folks are now saying that they're causing some other repercussions. And I'm just wondering, if we're at a point now where we're starting to, be more reactive to maybe public perception about what's needed in our schools versus what makes sense. And I think we just need to be real reflective as a subcabinet on this whole issue. We're going to do some discussion of that at our November meeting. But it reminds me, I was just thinking about when I was I'm really going to date myself now. But when I was in elementary school, we did the air raid, duck and cover. And, and that was, I was terrified as a child. In fact, I was so angry with my father because I wanted him to build us a fallout shelter in the backyard. And he wouldn't do it. And we would see, you would drive by, we took Sunday drives all the time. I'm sure this is TMI. You would see these humps in the backyards. And I was just adamant that we needed one. I was terrified as a child of this nuclear, and we all knew when we grew up that none of that would have helped us
Right.
under the desk.
We make that desk out of lead.
So fast forward now to, I was superintendent at this time in Talbot County. I was standing in White Marsh Elementary School, And all of a sudden, I thought I was having a stroke. And then I looked around me and realized everyone else was having the same reaction. The children, I was in a classroom, and I realized we were having an earthquake. And that's the day we told the kids to get under their desks and put their hands over their head, which would have done nothing to help us in an earthquake. Luckily, it wasn't anything that opened up the earth and swallowed us, but you know, I just think we need to, again, start asking some of these questions and looking at some of the research, because we don't want to impart more trauma on our kids than we do out of the benefits of the school safety. And, you know, it's like we have to look at those statistics, even though, you know, it's like with the, Bob will talk to you to death about the fire systems, you know?
Right.
How many fires have we had in schools? I mean, we can go back to the early 1900s.
Yeah, we
to
don't
find
have fires in schools, trash can fires in bathrooms.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
But,
My kids'
you know,
Yeah.
exactly. So, you know, do we invest tons of money in refurbishing schools with fire sprinkling systems and these kinds of things? So just a little bit of
And Madam
pontificating.
Chair, on that point, we do if it makes sense.
Right.
You know, and therefore to standardize the approaches
Right.
is really important. And it kind of is a defense against those predators that
Right.
want to sell you the bomb shelter, you know.
Yeah,
Because
exactly.
there's plenty of them around.
Yeah, I know. So anyway, just a little reflection here, and Bobby?
While we're taking a hiatus, I've been thinking about something too. It's not exactly what you're talking about, but we're going to have to report to the General Assembly what we've done with the money they've allocated. You know, if I'm a delegate from Carroll County, it probably needs to be in our annual report, a sheet of paper that says, you know, how much they were allocated and then what they did with it.
Right.
And I'm thinking like a checklist. There's suicide stuff. They're all different kinds and types. And I think at some point, particularly when you're looking back several years, just how many boxes each school system has checked on the types and kinds of things they could be doing to make schools
Right.
safer. And I think we're the keeper of the scorecard unless they did something that they didn't come to us for money for. I mean, it's
Right.
clearly,
Right.
but even that, I think we
So
should
I think
ask them.
There has to be,
Yeah.
that evaluation
Yeah.
in there.
Yeah.
And I know that we probably, you know, we're new at this.
Yeah.
You know, we're not experts at giving out all this money and checking how it was spent, but I think we can get better, and we can make sure that we have that kind of reporting function when we allocate these funds and say, yep, we're going to need an evaluation from you, which, you know, and set some parameters for that evaluation. You know, did your discipline rates go down? Did your attendance go up? Did your, you know, outside, you know, requests for SROs or the police to come in? Did you see? I mean, we can use the reports we already have. We have some of that information, but I think we should ask them for some kind of feedback on that.
And just to play Remember When, my little 3-room elementary school, a half a mile as a crow flies, there was a Nike base. So,
Well, how about Peach Bottom? I grew up in Harford County.
Harford County, but there was a Nike missile base a half a mile from my elementary school.
Right.
And every once in a while, just for the heck of it, they would fire off a missile. It would land in the Atlantic Ocean, but we heard it taking off.
I bet you did.
So, just
Yeah.
That's what I'm really looking forward to, is that we're going to start getting evidence about what is working. We're
Right.
not just going to be
Right.
doing something because everybody else is doing it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And just doing it quickly, you know,
Right.
just so we can check the box off that
Exactly.
we're showing everybody we're safe, but does it really work? You know?
Exactly.
And it reminds me of a situation of where I was superintendent in New York, and I arrived, and the first thing I saw, there was 38 doors in this high school building, and most of them were propped open. And I just, you know, had a little bit of a fit, to say the least. You know, it was convenience, you know, they were propped open so people could get in and out easily. And I said, well, anyway, won't go into it. But we had all the stuff. We had all the windows in the rooms numbered, you know, all those safety features. But when you prop the doors open, you invite the world in.
there's only one thing worse than that, and that's chaining them closed.
Well, there you go.
That's bad too.
That's some of that going on too.
Fire marshal doesn't like that.
No,
Madam Chair, just on this one point of maybe looking for commonalities in that, The regional managers that you have developed around the state, I complimented you before, that strategy is just excellent. And to be able to standardize how they are talking about all these various opportunities for spending are, so that it comes back to a central place for you all to vet and maybe give good advice that's consistent. How is that working?
Dina, you want to talk to how your regional program's working?
When the NOFAs came out, we had
Yeah.
sat down with all of them and told them, this is what you advise your school systems. This is what they're allowed, they're allocated, or the allocations are for these things. And we did push if it's a safety-related program, it's under here, if it's a security or physical program, more or less, go toward the IEC for. So I'm hoping you saw more applications this time around when you're in.
And are we learning from them, or do we communicate with them to see what's working well and what's not, just to kind of cut the corners?
Well, maybe it's too early.
Maybe too early.
You know, but I think you're on the right track of how we should be looking at this in the future, that, you know, we will make better decisions in granting things, I think, in the future, because we'll have more evaluation data and more
And there have been
evidence.
preliminary internal discussions in the office, because we now have a data management specialist now. And we're talking with him about what different things to look at and how we're going to track those down the road. See what is working, because if we have something that's working, we can take our resources away. Most of our resources we can leave away from that and move to something that's not working, and we can make sure it's working better.
Management by exception.
Yes.
Yeah. And there are school systems that are doing very well, and they're doing it very well, and there's others that are still struggling. So it's going to be a learning curve for all of us.
Exactly.
Thank you.
All right, so now we're moving on to Washington County grant.
Washington County Public Schools. Project number 1, Mental Health Prevention and Training Funds. Funding will support a variety of categories, including professional development, resources, prevention approaches, a new school safety initiative, substance abuse support, community engagement, and therapeutic services. The combination of these categories will support the overall mental health needs of their county school system students through the support of staff engaging with students, as well as direct support towards students. The funding will support the following: professional development training opportunities in the Living Works Assist training, the 2019 NASP convention, prepare training, PBIS 17th International Conference, mental health first aid train the trainer, Living Works Safe Talk train the trainer, life space de-escalation training, Mental Health America 2020 conference, and Safe Talk training and mental health first aid. They're requesting $51,300 for that project. Project number.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
This just seems vague to me. Did they forget something on the list?
Yeah, I know. I'm looking back in the narrative, and page, I guess it's on, well, it's the first page of their narrative for mental health funds.
And maybe it doesn't matter if they are doing it as a reimbursement and we check it back that way, but
Yeah.
at the same time, are some of these effective and some aren't?
Yeah, and they've got a full breakdown. If you go a page after that, you can see a breakdown of what the training is and who
Okay.
they're actually sending and what the cost is for each of the individual. But yes, they do have to submit individual invoices for everything.
Okay. I withdraw my concern.
Okay.
In fairness to them, when I do the summaries, I do just an executive summary briefing for you.
Yeah, so you have to go into details, I guess, in some of these. Okay, go ahead, Dino.
All right. Next page here. Project number 2, mental health resources and prevention, therapeutic resources for individual and group support, suicide prevention tool, evaluation tool. They're using the RISC-2 evaluation tool, positive behavior intervention and support, PBIS state coaches meeting, PBIS state coaches meeting support. I apologize for duplication. District coordinator for PBIS local coaches and team leader meetings, new team PBIS training, expanding their programs for positive school climate in the elementary schools, return of PBIS team training, continued support for positive school climate and restorative practice trainings. They're asking $59,895. And in their budget breakdown, they again, approximately how many participants at each level. And I took everything that was PBIS and put it all together. Project number 3, Safe School Initiative, a school-based safety and discipline consultant. They want to bring a consultant in to assist them with their system. They're asking $18,000 for that. Project number 4, substance abuse. Substance abuse liaison professional development training and meeting, as well as addiction and recovery materials. They're asking $3,550 for that project. Project number 5, community support, mental health fairs, transportation to and from mental health appointments for students. They're asking for $11,000 for that project. Project number 6, therapeutic service provision by contracted specialists for mental health challenges that require school-based therapy services. They're asking $72,000 for that. $72,000 for that project. Project number. Here.
So those are all
7.
part of one, yeah.
Project 7. We'd like to complete 3D scans of all 20 school buildings in their system. The funding will allow them to complete 3D scans of 20 school buildings and a reunification site they plan to use. The scan and safety evaluation will become part of their internal training, and their EMS, fire, police, and other public safety partners will receive electronic copies along with the mobile command center, which will have a copy on board. Grant funding will allow them to hire a contractor or pay overtime to complete the scans. Without this funding, that project would not be able to be completed. I did talk to Mr. Ganley up there, and this is either contracted for their safety officers, or they will hire personnel in overtime to come back and do it. He did say the way they're asking for up to $90,000. He hopes it does not go to that. And one way to keep the cost down is the contractors will be paid per square foot basis rather than on an overtime basis. Overtime, they kind of lag and do their own speed. This way, they will do it per square foot and get it done as fast as can, because they won't be paid until they get to the next one.
And Bob, is that something that would come through the IEC or not?
3D scans?
Yeah.
No. They're, I question the value of.
Can you tell us what they are specifically?
Okay, they come into a room, and it's very sophisticated. They set up a laser scanner in the room that measures to the nth degree everything in the room and recreates a three-dimensional digital model so that you can walk through a building, or if you want to put a hole in a wall or something, now you've got something as a basis to start your design with. I don't know what they would use this for. Maybe they're going to have virtual training or something.
Training and exercise, also during an incident. They can be used during an incident.
Using like a virtual hood or something that how would they use this in training once the data's created?
So similar to the way you would use a blueprint now, right? So you could have a discussion-based exercise, and you could walk through a blueprint of the school. This is sort of the next level, right? So it's not just what is the blueprint tell us, but here is now a 3D scan.
I think it's to deal with incidents. And so you say that the shooter is in the cafeteria, and then you have a digital layout of the cafeteria, and you have all the entrances and exits.
The windows and the columns.
The windows and everything, so that you know what you're going into.
So you would use a virtual viewer to, just like you play games with.
No, I think the police officers coming would know if they said, we think the shooter's in the gymnasium, or we think the shooter's in the
You can say,
cafeteria.
I'm pulling it up, and here's where we are now, and here's.
Yeah, and here's how you get there, and here's what you're going to encounter when you get there, where the doors are and everything else.
Or to better understand, on a 3D model, you can better understand the depth or so for example, and you can chime in here, because I know you know, with the Capitol Gazette shooting, the long guns versus the size of the scope of the hallway were problematic for the officers going in. Had a 3D model been around, you could check the depth and the dimension far faster than you can if you're sitting looking at a paper blueprint where it's not that specific, or the columns, as Bill said. Like, well, there's a lot of open spaces, but they have column supports that may be providing blocked areas, blocked visual.
Well, I think, again, it's something we need to look at in the future because it is rather expensive. And again, it's back to the question of how
Does it add
many of these
value?
are occurring and what you want to put your,
I'd like to see how they use this. I'd be interested in the results.
Right.
I have a question about the number 5, or what I call number 5 on the second page. About the transportation, are they envisioning school buses? Are they hiring taxis?
I'm sorry, Bill, which
I'm
one?
on project 1, number 5 on the second page.
To and from mental one.
well, it has to be one or the other.
Right, well, I want to make sure they know, I mean, you can't just use
Well, the
Uber or
county-
Lyft.
Well, I think the county
Okay.
know that, because they have to write to me for exceptions, but
Okay.
we don't allow exceptions unless there's, we really don't allow
No
exceptions.
exceptions.
So. Did you get through the whole thing, Dina?
No, I have
Okay.
for all the personnel costs associated, the fixed costs for everything, they set out at $4,385.
Yeah, so what's the plan, again, for, they're gonna pull in these contractual people and pay them, just like we talked
For
about.
overtime.
Right, for overtime. What's the plan for the future, and is that sustainable? They can't ask for it again, so.
Do you mean related to the scanning
mental
or
health-
the training?
The mental health people they're bringing in. It says they're gonna bring in additional mental health.
Project number 6, therapeutic service provision.
Yes, thank you.
Oh, yeah.
Those are contracted specialists, it's a contract basis.
Okay, so we're not paying anybody's salary. Okay, all right.
Madam
Okay.
Chair, I'd like to ask for, once they have this completed, if they could demonstrate to this cabinet how
Okay,
how
that
this
sounds like
is
a
going
neat
to be
idea.
utilized.
Yeah.
Yes.
Sure.
Yep.
Here's how we use it in training or whatever. Thank you.
On the budget grant, the grant budget summary page, it has $51,650 in salary.
You're right. It's not under contract. Unless that is
So-
to pay for the training for the other staff.
Yeah, and I think that is. I think that's under
Okay.
the training category, but I'll double check the number. We'll double check the number and make sure.
Should we get clarification, or do we want to?
Yeah, I'm trying to look back.
Conditionally approved
Contract
pending
service on
performance.
72,000. Yes, it's under contract. If you look at
Well,
the
it's-
project 6,
Very last thing on the budget list.
right, it's $72,000, and it is listed under contract services. So the other salaries and wages must be for paying people for their stipends.
For their, yes, for their time. But we'll ensure
Okay.
that before we,
All right,
in our grant award.
great. All right, so do we have a motion to approve based on making sure that there are no salaries for a full-time person involved?
So motion with
And,
conditions.
And the training.
Demonstration
The
on, I think it's
demonstration.
project 6.
Yeah.
Okay.
So moved.
All right, so we have a motion.
Second.
Do we have a second? We have a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. All right. Wycomico County.
Like,
No, Worcester.
I'm sorry.
okay. Let's do the all fair second.
Wait,
All the Ws.
Whoa,
Sorry,
sorry.
through the W's.
Worcester County, project number 1, installation of radios in their school buses. Funding will allow the installation of two-way radios into 18 system buses to enhance safety on and off by allowing the operators to report safety and speed violations in a timely manner. They're requesting $54,000 for that project.
have a question on this. Is this like a new radio? They didn't have radios at all?
They didn't have radio going.
Do they have cell phones?
That's probably what they were using.
And where do the radios, who do they talk to? Directly to the police?
No,
No, they
to the
talk to
school
their
system,
dispatcher.
central office.
And these are probably additional buses. In other words, they might be new buses, because they have more than 18 buses in this county, so.
So in our previous conversations that we've had, when we were talking about radios, I understood law enforcement didn't want people, they would rather get the call directly whenever there's violations or issues, rather than it going through a local administration. Maybe I misunderstood.
It's always easier if it's an eyewitness, but that doesn't always happen.
Okay,
So I think any way we can get it where we know an area to enforce, I think is good.
okay. And my question is, if they all have cell phones now anyway, with access to call their local law enforcement, is this an improvement?
Absolutely. What happens if they're ready to drop a student off that's in pre-K and the parent's not home?
Right.
You got to be able to call back to the office and find out if
Okay.
they can call the parent. I mean, there's, if we didn't have that, I can tell you it would be a travesty.
So the radio works
The
better for
radios
that.
are essential.
Thank you.
To the operation of
Good to know.
transportation.
Thank you.
Okay, go ahead, Dino.
All right, project number 2, program would fund 6 emergency radios for senior leadership and local school systems safety officers to maintain communication with schools and the buses. They're requesting $9,000 for that project. Project number 3, security card access upgrades to 7 school facilities. The funding would enhance the original pilot project of secure access controls funded by the FY19 school safety grant currently at headquarters, and this would add this security card access upgrades to 7 school facilities. They're requesting $25,700 for that. Project number 4, additional security cameras at designated schools. I apologize, it cut off on the schools, the cameras that are using. They requested $18,000, and let me go back here to what they're looking for. Tyco access controls is the one. Let me see. This is the one that drove crazy. Freaking things out. Yeah, they only asked for school security cameras for schools at a rate of $18,000. I did not see here's that. I go access control. Yeah, they did not elaborate.
No, it just says additional security
Yeah.
cameras.
Yes.
Okay, go ahead, Dino.
All
Go
right.
through the rest.
Project number 5, the Panorama Platform for Social Emotional Learning. Program funding will allow use of the Panorama Survey Platform measuring student satisfaction and engagement. Survey gathers information on student social emotional learning and is administered 3 times per year. The survey meets the requirements of the Maryland Report Card for ESSA. And I would defer to Chair on that one because I do not know what that is.
That's ESSA, that's
Every Student
the
Succeeds.
Every Student
Okay.
Succeeds Act. That's
All right.
our accountability system.
They're requesting $12,000 for that project. Project 6, Life Space Crisis Intervention Training and Assessment Program. The funding will train staff and administrators in the Shepherd Pratt Trauma Recovery Program known as Life Space Crisis Intervention. The program provides training materials needed to work with students who have suffered trauma. A train-the-trainer program model is being adopted, and they're requesting $41,192 for that project. Project 7, Stop the Bleed Kits. The Program funding will purchase Stop the Bleed kits for each school bus utilized by the local school system. In-kind training in the Stop the Bleed program will be provided by Peninsula Regional Medical Center. The program expands funding that they initially started with in the last school safety grant, and they're requesting $5,000 for that project. Project number 8, contractual behavioral health specialist. Program will fund one contractual behavioral mental health specialist to consult with both general and special education educators, supporting students with significant behavioral difficulties. Educators will be instructed in the use of evidence-based techniques to assist their students. Additionally, the specialist will assist with the development of functional behavioral assessments and writing behavioral intervention plans and individual education plans. They're requesting $50,000 for that contractual person. Project number 9, school-wide information system, SWIS facilitator certification. This funding will select staff to becoming certified facilitators in PBIS SWIS model. This model allows facilitators the ability to look at a program, at problem behaviors, frequency of problem behaviors, frequency of referrals, and where system behaviors may occur, problem behaviors occur. It also allows access to an online database within the LASS to capture system-wide information. So this is a combination. They're going to train certain people to use this system and implement this system, which is online. They're requesting $3,600 for that project. The total request is $218,492. The total allocation is $218,492.
Questions? We're sure the contract person is contract and,
I just got off the phone
Okay.
about 10 minutes before the meeting with Mr. Price.
okay. All right. Other questions about any of the items on the grant request? All right, do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Do we have a second? All right, we have a motion to approve and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? All right, we're done. Any other business for the subcabinet today? I will entertain a motion to adjourn. Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And again, I don't think anybody's going to abstain.
No, nobody's going to abstain for
Or
during the meeting.
All right, thank you all for your very
Thank you,
good
Matt.
work this morning.
Thank you.